Oh, hello again to the Bountiful Chest. I am Shadow, and today I'd like to talk to you about Mecha. So, I did some research looking for Mecha RPGs, specifically tabletop RPGs. And I found very often people are suggested that the big one right now that everyone suggests if you ask is Lancer, which, probably helps. The player rules are free. So it's very accessible right now. So it's the current new hotness. Uh, Now, even discussing people that enjoy and play it, it does have a certain divide between the tactical combat and the rest of the role playing, the non-combat role playing. And so let me set him down. It it suffers from some of the things in 4E Dungeons and Dragons in that you know all the flavor text for an ability or a weapon is essentially just flavor text. And for the shadow you summon to do a -2 to something doesn't do anything else. It never does anything else. And non-combat is completely separated from combat. Uh, so I was told, yes, that's a thing with Lancer 2 that yeah, my weapon had something to do with magnets, and we were moving along, and I used it heavily house ruled. Yeah, I can use the magnets in this weapon to help do something with a bridge, but there's nothing. The way the game is designed, everything's completely separate. That's if it doesn't bother you, if you have fun with the system, go ahead and have fun with the system. Uh, the the responses after Lancer are really a mixed bag. Uh, Battletech was even only mentioned sometimes, which, granted, Battletech itself is a war game. There are at least two sets of rules for playing Battletech as a role playing game with using all the war game rules for combat. But again, that's heavily splits combat and non combat, though, it's like, well, is there anything in the role playing system could add to combat? Uh, So of course, in my own books, I have one system that is directly mecha. Of course, it's the Palladium system, which is crunchy, as people say. It's a lot of work to DM a Palladium game. Being a game master is not easy because you don't have things like challenge ratings and easy ways to gauge power, except let me throw this at them and see if they live. This particular game, because Harmony Gold screwed up, this is no longer in print because it should have never been in print because of what the actual rights Harmony Gold had concerning everything Robotech. Yeah, of course the BattleTech guys are very happy with how things have finally shaken out with decades of what Harmony Gold has done with the rights. But there, with Palladium, there are plenty of uh, in a number of the systems. There's plenty of rules for combat with power armors or robot vehicles, including multi-pilot vehicles, which I don't see it too much in Mecha, not that I've seen. But so I did research. I looked for other systems. Uh, there are some more just narrative games. There's no tabletop involved. And interesting, I found a bunch of them in a list of tabletop mecha RPGs. So I'll mention one I didn't write down. Echo is basically, oh, you're playing a bunch of kids that come across like something with a ghost of a pilot in it, like a I'd have to read it again, but it's like, oh, you're just telling the pilot, the results of how the world has gone on after said mecha war. And it's like, okay, that's an interesting narrative thing. It's interesting for writing exercises, but doesn't doesn't get me a good shootout and missile fire in a mecha game. So, all right, one of these other ones, I'm, I would be very careful about recommending a game masterless game unless that's what you're looking for. But one I found was Mobile Frame Zero, and one of the reviews I saw for it was that essentially it boils down to you just all vote together about what happens. So it's a creative writing project. Now, I don't know. Maybe they have a bunch of rules that make this a little more complex. I haven't looked heavily into these. Another one was, but going into ones that aren't the GM-less, there was one called Beam Saber. There are some people that feel that one particular review was this was not the giant robot fighting with daddy issues I was looking for. But I can't remember if that's either Powered by the Apocalypse or Blades in the Forged in the Dark. I know there are ones that are there are a lot of games that are apparently just we took this system and put this genre in it, and it's like I I get it, guys. That's been like that was the go-to for a bunch of things with the D20 system, and there were a lot of people that are saying at one point started saying, "Have we tried not playing D&D?" D&D is very good at being D&D, not everything else. So I don't know how good Powered by the Apocalypse or Forged in the Dark or Savage Worlds are at being other things because I haven't played them myself. So I can't recommend anything based on that. Uh, there was the Mecha Hack, Jovian Chronicles, and Mechaton Zeta, all other different attempts at systems using, for mecha. There were two other interesting additions because these were fantasy mecha. Uh, Armor Esther and Maharlika RPG. I hope I'm pronouncing those right. But yeah, it's interesting to see some of the fantasy mecha, which is really it's been done in anime, which well, let's admit it, most mecha is done in anime. The rare exception being BattleTech, or if you're into bad movies, there's RoboJocks. Crash and Burn. I hope someone gets that. One of my friends will. Two of my friends will. But there are games out there. If you're looking for mecha games, uh, you could always look into. I'm sure there's rules for BESM, Big Eye Small Mouth, for doing mecha. Uh, there's oh, I know there's another one, but I'm sure there's a D20 system someone made out there somewhere. Uh, there's always Palladium if you don't mind crunch and the skill system is just the thing that makes create character creation take the longest. Uh, I wouldn't be surprised if someone's made a 5e. But yeah, so there's options out there for mecha tabletop role playing games, or turning your mecha war game into a role playing game. Uh, but it a lot of it is, what are you looking for? Are you looking for something more narrative? You're looking for something where the mecha do things more realistic, more cinematic. Uh, do you want to be, slugging it out with, you know, near steam or diesel powered giant robots, or do you want, your nuclear powered giant robots, or do you want to go full magic powered giant robots? But anyways, that's going to be it for me on this subject for now, unless I delve into Mecha RPGs further to give some more specific feedback on and recommendation on what I'd say to go for with a mecha game. I I do I played Palladium a bunch, but I also played 2E a bunch, which is one of the harder editions of Dungeons and Dragons to get into because algebra. It everything is solve for x. You have to do algebra for all your calculations. Not all of them, but you know, this has the whole aspect of you shoot, you dodge, you parry, you fire at the missile swarm coming at you to try to get them to explode before they hit you, and various maneuvers like that. There's some good rules that make can aid a cinematic feel of a mecha fight, whereas you know not every system I'm sure does that. Some uh, I mean, but BattleTech was meant to be a war game, and sometimes slow moving giant mecha that just fire across the field at each other. It wasn't meant to be uh, beam sabers and super weapons. All right, now I'm really gonna sign off. Thanks for watching, and may all your adventures be great.